a translation mistake, that it wasn't calling him brilliant, it was saying the word was actually bright, as in flashy?
Oh, totally. Oh, yeah. The word in Russian is yarki. And yarki means bright, but it's kind of like the lights are bright. It's not intelligent. It is not. It has nothing to do with intelligent. It's kind of like, oh, he's a colorful character. I mean, that's the best way I would translate it.
Tony, I mean, what is it you think about Donald Trump's personality that makes him respond to Putin like this?
Well, he is at heart a deeply, deeply insecure man, and he is a sucker for flattery. And he reveres, and let's not kid ourselves, he reveres authoritarians because he dreams of being one.
Jeffrey, do you think there's any truth in that?
No, I don't. You know, the thing that I find absolutely amazing, Anderson, Molly Hemingway had a great piece over at the Federalist today, noting that 4 years ago, when Mitt Romney said that Russia and Putin were a geopolitical threat, President Obama mocked him and said the 80s are calling, they want their foreign policy back. You know, President Reagan had a very tough relationship with the Soviets, but he was the first to go on Soviet television in 1986 and address the Russian people. I mean, I just find a lot of this silly, to be very political.
Let me just say this to Jeffrey. You don't know Donald Trump very well. How much time have you spent with him? I lived with him day and night for 18 months. I know this man. Here was one of his favorite phrases. I love that guy. He's a killer. He's a killer. You don't know him. Anybody who does know well knows who Donald Trump is, and no one who knows him well would doubt that to be a dictator and to be able to control everything would be his dream come true.
Jeffrey, I mean, there have been some Republicans who have been concerned, particularly early on, about some of Trump's statements sounding like kind of doing things by executive fiat at the very least.
Well, you mean like President Obama, who says he has a phone and a pen? I mean, this kind of stuff has been going on. If you want to go down that direction, that's what the entire Obama administration has been about.
Jeffrey, why do you go to Obama? Why don't you talk about your own guy? Why don't you talk about your own guy? Stop talking about Obama. What about Donald Trump? This is a man who wants to be a dictator.
Tony,
let him answer.
I am trying to answer Anderson's question. And I am saying we've already seen hints of this with President Obama. Heavens, there have been articles out there for years that he's a wannabe fascist, for heaven's sakes. I just think this is ridiculous. Donald Trump, of course, has talked about how you need to work with Congress and not sign executive orders and run the government by executive order. He's talked about working with Congress.
But he has said
there is a Constitution out there, Tony, whether Barack Obama and my Democratic friends want to recognize it or not.
Well, I'm not sure Donald Trump knows what the Constitution says. I can tell you this, he's never read it because he doesn't read anything, as you know. He's not a person who reads. So the notion
Tony,
that... Yeah?
Tony, let me just suggest something to you. When Franklin Roosevelt was elected president, the people who knew him best, who went to school with him, who voted against him, said, one classmate wrote, I can't understand all this fuss about Frank. In other words, they didn't get it. The American people saw something in Franklin Roosevelt that the people who knew him best didn't get. I would suggest we've got the same situation.
Jeffrey, you don't know this candidate, so your statements you don't know him personally, do you? You've spent almost no time. You've spent almost no time with him. Does he strike?
Tony, I haven't spent 9 years with him. No. Is that what you're asking? But do I know him? I certainly know him. More to the point, Tony, this is about the American people's judgment of Donald Trump, and they're in the process of making it. The Republican Party, millions of voters, nominated him for president.
Okay, so here's what I would say.
Case closed.
Here's what I would say, Jeffrey. Do the American people want someone who has already said he wants to abridge free press? Do they want their own rights for free speech abrogated?
You mean like
don't you stop with the you mean like this, you mean like that. That's so silly. That's ridiculous.
No.
Talk about this man. That's what we're being asked to do.
Tony, the basis of this is that you're a liberal and you don't like the guy's politics. That's fine. God bless America. Let's be honest about it.
It has nothing to do with that. I don't like his character. I stood with this man from morning. Of course I'm not, but I'm here to tell America that he is not the person who they think he is. If they want a dictator, if they want a person who does the kinds of things Putin does, they should vote for Donald Trump. I'm encouraging people who want a dictator to vote Donald Trump. Everybody else should not.